When it comes to the rap game, there aren't many OGs left. Whether they've been taken too soon in industry-defining violence or lost themselves in drug and alcohol-induced benders, it goes without saying that it's not easy to stay relevant and real. But one rapper has found himself solidly in this category among the likes of Tupac Shakur and Notorious B.I.G. Snoop Dogg, the lyricist from Long Beach, California, has more hit songs than any other OG still kicking it. But how does someone like Snoop retain his relevance though, and ensure that he hasn't been wiped from the face of the earth just yet? Well, as it turns out, the D.O.G.G. is actually one of the most feared rap artists around, and for more than a few reasons. So stick around to find out why rappers are really scared of Snoop Dogg. You should interact with us. Subscribe and hit the notification button to be notified when we upload more content. Don't forget to leave a like and comment below. Also, feel free to suggest any type of videos you would like to see on this channel. Thanks. Let's start with Snoop's criminal record. Snoop is unlike any other rapper in the industry. Although he came up from the streets, he actually had a loving mother and stepfather right there next to him, who tried their best to keep him on the straight and narrow. As such, the legendary icon only fell into the wrong crowd when he was 19, resulting in his first ever arrest. This was in respect of a felony drug possession charge, as well as another for holding with the intention of selling. Since the drug in question was cocaine and the word on the street was that Snoop was a low-level member of the Rollin' Crips, it wasn't difficult to find a judge who would convict him. But this wasn't the last time that Snoop would find a name for himself in the Californian courtroom. In fact, drug possession with the intention to sell was nothing compared to what he was accused of 3 years later. You see, although he was essentially acquitted of the charge, Snoop found himself in the midst of a pretty intense murder trial. This was the resultant of a bout of gang violence that Snoop was involved in back in 1993, which saw him being slapped with a first-degree murder charge. According to reports, he was driving a Jeep at the time with his bodyguard and longtime friend McKinley Lee, otherwise known as Malik. And when he finally arrived at his apartment complex, he was shocked to see a group of rival gang members sitting there waiting for him. And it didn't help that these were the same gangbangers that he and Malik had recently beefed with, led by the infamous Philip Wonder Merriam, better known as Little Smooth. Rather than avoiding confrontation, Snoop sped up to the group, who were apparently enjoying some Mexican food, and started to cuss them out for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Suffice to say, things escalated quickly when Malik stood up to the topless Jeep and pulled his pistol out for all to see. Before Little Smooth was able to react, the pistol went off, causing the rival gang member to fall lifeless to the ground. Being only 21 years old at the time, Snoop decided to slam his foot down on the accelerator, speed away from the incident, and regretfully not calling the cops. The trial was a long one, and it looked bad that Little Smooth was not found packing at the time, but as it turns out, one of his friends had actually hidden his weapon from the police, showing that there had always been an intention to start things. Luckily for Snoop, this was the nail in the coffin needed to secure the withdrawal of the charges that had been set against him, with Malik being the one who had actually pulled the trigger. But the rest of the Rollin' Crips knew that Malik didn't do anything without the direction of Snoop, who had clearly asked him to react with the violence that he did. This was far from the last time that Snoop was involved with the law, though. In fact, in both 1994 and 1995, he fought another set of charges in connection with an attempted murder case, showing that he hadn't calmed down since the 1993 murder charge. He also pleaded guilty to assault charges in 1997, but escaped liability by promising to use his platform to speak against violence. For doing so, he got off scot-free with just 3 years of probation. 2002 was then a big year for Snoop. It looked like he had turned over a new leaf by indicating to his fans that he had given up both drugs and women. But this didn't stop things from getting a bit hairy the next year when he was implicated in a civil rape case. That being said, Snoop quickly countersued the plaintiff for extortion, causing the both of them to drop their cases and carry on as if nothing had happened. Snoop also has a history of being banned from airports after having a string of misunderstandings take place. He was banned from flying on British Airways after he and his entourage started a fight and used a disturbing amount of threatening language whilst on the scene. He was also detained in John Wayne Airport in 2006 for carrying a collapsible police baton in his bag. Just a few months later in October, he was arrested in Bob Hope Airport in Burbank for being in possession of both marijuana and a firearm, a situation which didn't stop him from doing the same in November after performing on The Tonight Show. Suffice to say, Snoop has always been ready for a fight with some form of weapon on him, and the fact of the matter is that he isn't at all scared to elevate things to the level of intense violence. So it's really no wonder that other rappers avoid beefing with the OG, as this would probably be the last thing they would ever do, literally. Snoop has more success than any other OG on the scene, but it's really more than that. As much as people fear him for what he has done and continues to do, rappers tend to take a wide berth from the OG because of how successful he is. Not only does he have a lucrative music career, he has also made a name for himself by doing voice work for mainstream video games like Call of Duty, created an Olympics commentary alongside Kevin Hart which hit new degrees of virality, opened a number of podcasts as high as a kite, and has gone on to cameo in some of the greatest movies of all time. Suffice to say, Snoop is an absolute legend of the industry, and it goes without saying that his fanbase would do anything to make him happy. From speaking out against celebrities he has beefed with to intentionally attempting to cancel them in an effort to bring an end to the beef, and to a certain extent a social media death, is a lot more damning to celebrities and influencers alike than the threat of physical violence. You can recover from a physical attack after all, but in some instances a cancellation can cause you to lose your livelihood. The DOGG might be a tad unhinged. That being said, Snoop has calmed down in recent years, even admitting to the fact that he regrets being so misogynistic when he was younger. He even squashed a beef that had been brewing between him and Eminem when he refused to acknowledge the white rapper as being one of the top 10 lyricists in the world, claiming that it was the fact that he was with Dr. Dre that got him the place on the list. But not all beefs and bouts of misogyny have come to an end. Back in 2014, for example, he went on to post a picture of an albino homeless woman with cornrows, captioning it "Iggy Azalea, no makeup." And while the rest of the world was rolling on the floor laughing, the Australian fancy singer was not about to take the jab lying down. She hit back at Snoop on Twitter, calling him two-faced. In her own words, "Every time I've ever spoken to you, you've always been nice as hell. I'm disappointed you'd be such an ass for no reason." And while everything seemed to be over, Snoop came back for a vengeance in an offensive video in which he said the following to Iggy: "Say you're with the wrong N-word, and your N-word better check you before I do you funky yeah, you Suffice to say, the public saw a different side of Snoop that day. It seemed as if the rapper was going through a midlife crisis, but there's nothing more dangerous than a man unhinged. But what do you think about the reasons for him being feared? Is it a combination of them all that strike fear into the hearts of rappers? Or is there one in particular that caught your attention? Feel free to let us know in the comments section down below. That's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and comment below who you would like to see next. Also, subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're new to the channel to be notified when we upload.